Okay, good to see you, everyone. It's good. I think we we had a session before about fermented alcohols, and I recognize some of you attended the first class, and about half of the people here are new faces. Uh, yeah, I'm glad to see some returning bodies as well as new bodies. And from today, we are becoming a drinking buddies. So let me introduce you to the world of Hanju, the Korean alcoholic drink. So ready? Yeah. Can you start? Can you see the presentation? Okay. So should I start now? So today it's about spirit. So you're English speakers, so you know what spirit is. Spirit means a strong alcohol, but it has its etymology. So as we more often use spirits about our, something not material. It's about our soul, our mind, our attitude, things like that. It comes from Latin word spiritus, a breathing or breath, or breath of God. From this meaning, it gets the kind of soul-like meaning. And then from late 14th century in alchemy, it is used as volatile substance or as a verb, distillate. From circa 1500, 16th century, it is used as substance capable of uniting the fixed and the volatile elements of the philosopher's stone. So alchemy is turning anything less precious than gold into gold. Okay, it's about making gold. So they needed this philosopher's stone as necessary to making something into gold. And what is philosopher's stone? Nobody knows. Nobody's ever found it. It is like it's more of just legend than a holy grail. So people are thinking of way how to uh, make philosopher's stones before they can make gold. And alcohol was used this. So this meaning comes from alchemy, and nobody actually succeeded in making philosopher's stones. So my guess is those alchemists tried hard every day and failed, and they called it a day and drink alcohol. So it's spirit. Yeah. So it's the sense is narrowed to strong alcoholic liquor by 1670s, as we know. So let me explain how to distillate, the principles of distillation. You are seeing three rather clumsy figures from the left. Can you see the no? I can show. Yeah, can you see the cursor? Yeah. So in the simplest way, you can distillate anything from home. Now, everyone has a pot at home. You put some fermented alcohol, low volume alcohol into the pot and boil it. Then the alcohol evaporates first, right? And then when you put the lid of the pot upside down, and then the alcohol goes to the top, and then the lid makes it cooler, and then it goes to the hold, the single drop of alcohol, and then drop back, and you put some small cup or jar here, and then you get the condensed stronger alcohol. Spirit. That's the basic principle. So obviously that's not a very good way because you can burn the low volume alcohol, which makes a like charcoal like not very good flavor. And then because you cannot completely separate alcohol from water, the spirit you get is probably a mixture of not very high volume alcohol and water. So it has evolved to the right and to the right. So on the right corner, right down corner, you can see some of the Korean traditional distillation facilities. So you can see there's a wood for fire, and there's pot, and instead of this lid, people make this is called soju made of earthen jar. People used it in traditional society. So I said you can put some low volume alcohol to the pot. So what is this low volume alcohol or base alcohol? You can use anything like beer. You can get beer everywhere, or you can use wine. So if you use beer, so it's gonna be whiskey, and if you use wine, it's gonna be brandy or cognac or grappa. If you use makgeolli or 청주, then it becomes soju. So when you make mezcal or tequila, what do you use? Anyone? Somebody? Yeah. Oh, sorry, the audio is not good, but I'm sure you are right. So tequila is made of sort of cactus. Yeah, I do not know the specific name of the cactus, but it's very common in Mexican desert. So they use this cactus, they fermented this and distillate it into mezcal or tequila. And what is used for rum? Yeah, rum is molasses, sugar. Actually, the byproduct of sugar production. So rum was became very famous during the age of great sailing. So when the Caribbean islands were colonized and made plantation of sugar canes. So they had lots of these molasses, and they used this for distillation and made rum. Okay. In the first page of this principle, we saw single distillation. The single distillation is just not good enough if you want really high volume alcohol. So people do it twice or even more, because it's called multiple distillation. So almost every commercial distiller is using multiple distillation method because as I told you, the single distillation doesn't produce high volume alcohol. So on the right, this is a conceptual figure of coffee distillation pot. Coffee distillation pot is patented by Inez Coffee, a Scotsman, who developed this distillation pot, and since 1830, it is so widely used in Scotch whisky industry. So it has changed the Scotch whisky industry ever since. So to the right, if you see the figure, you put some essentially be what we call wash in whiskey making. Wash here, and you put some heat here, then yeah, it evaporates, and there's small metal plates in every single. This one is small metal plates, so used as small single pots. So essentially, it takes like 10-20 times a single distillation here, and then go to what's called rectifier, and then this coil. In this coil, there is the distilled alcohol, and this pipe here supplies cold water, so that the evaporated alcohol as air is becoming water. Okay? And then the condensed alcohol comes out to here. So it's quite pure. It could be up to 90% pure alcohol. But normally, it's from south, it's like 80 something percent, and when it goes under 10%, they stop and mix it. So the point is, if you need good quality spirit, you need to distillate multiple times, at least twice. So after you get this spirit, you mature it. So I hope we have this chance sometime later when I go to Austria. If you take the distilled alcohol right from the distiller, it's fantastic. But after like 15-30 minutes later, it becomes well, quite nasty. It's too strong, and it thinks it's not very smooth, and the flavor is just too strong and too coarse. So we need this maturation. So during this maturation or aging, the physical structure of molecules in this alcohol spirit changes. So the water and alcohol is very well mixed. You cannot tell which one is alcohol and which one is water with your bare eyes. And so they basically mix very well. But in molecular level, they need to time to sort out their relationship, the restructure themselves. That's one of the reasons we mature the spirit. And in case of brown spirit, I'm talking about brown spirit later again, but brown spirit is literally the brown one. Yeah, you're seeing a whiskey or tequila. Good examples are. It is matured in a container, typically oak barrel in Western societies. This spirit, this alcohol, absorbs many substances from this container. So in the case of whiskey, it has typically vanilla and some sweetness from the oak barrel. So that's one of the reasons why we do maturing. So during this maturing period, it absorbs some substances from the container, and so it also gradually contacts with air, and the air affects aromaphiles and physical texture too. So how long this maturing should be? There is no answer, but in case of Scotch whiskey, this is 5 years. So something to be called Scotch whiskey is to be matured at least 5 years. And when you mix these whiskies from multiple barrels, which is very common practice, the youngest one should be at least 5 years. Okay, that gives you some hint about how long this should be. So when you mature the spirit enough, you blend this. So in case of Scotch whiskey again, so people use oak barrel, and every barrel from the same distillery, from the same batch, actually a few years later, every barrel is different. So that's interesting. So to make the quality consistent, a master blender is necessary. A master blender is the most important person of the whole distillery to make the quality consistent. It's a bit blurry, but in the background, the person, Mr. Richard Patterson, is the one called the nose in Scotch whiskey industry. Is third generation master blender, and at the moment he's responsible for the Dalmore and many other brands. So his job is, this brand produces like millions of liters of whiskey every year. So he checks every barrel and design which one goes with which one, and then make something what we call Dalmore, and of what class. And before that, he has to plan how to procure the oak barrels. He spends like a couple of months every year in the United States because European oak barrel is so expensive and not even a good quality. So he goes to America to get that. So he has this a very famous saying: every whiskey has a story to tell. We talking about this story later in tasting. Okay, so now you are seeing a very basic way of making soju at home in this video. Okay, this guy is making the homemade moonshine distilling pot at home. So this is the pot, literally the pot. And with this plastic bottle, he's making condenser. If you have pressure cooker, it's become much easier. And he puts a bottle of makgeolli, the cheapest one, in the pot, and make it sealed and watertight. The ice is for cooling. So when you say alcohol, actually is a compound of many alcohols. So at 53 degree, acetone comes out first. At 64 degree, other substance comes out, and like methanol. So those comes first. It's called head, and head is not good to your body, so it is given up. Okay, you throw away the first part, probably like 1% to 3% of the whole the volume of your base alcohol. So if you distill 1 liter of base alcohol, like 10 to 30 milliliter of distilled alcohol is given up, and then at 78 Celsius, the ethanol comes out. Yeah, it's the heart or mid-cut of the distillation. And yeah, do your best to stay around 8 degrees Celsius. And then, you know, the water is boiled at 100 degree, but it's not that every molecule of H2O comes down until 100 and they just started unanimously. It's not like that. Some part of the water, some molecule is heated up to 100 earlier, some are later. So even at 80 degrees Celsius, some water evaporates and it's mixed. And as it goes, more and more water comes out, and less and less alcohol comes out. So it comes down to like 10% of alcoholic volume, and then you stop. Yeah, and the rest is tail. It's also given up. So there are 3 parts: head, heart, tail. Head is not good for your body. It essentially contains methanol, which could kill you. But don't worry too much. If you use any beer or makgeolli that you bought from a good producer, that doesn't contain much of ethanol. The distillation process separate methanol and ethanol during the course, but it doesn't produce any more methanol. So if you use like one liter of makgeolli or beer, even if you happen to have a bit of head, you're not going to be killed. So don't worry. And then the mid-cut part, and then the tail. So one of the technique is to stay to the degree of alcoholic volume you want. Like, do you want 40% or 50% or 30%? The tail is decided by the point when the mixture is about that range. Yeah. So yeah, the distilled alcohol spirit is divided in 2 categories: white and brown. So as example, I took vodka and whiskey, Scotch whiskey. So as for ingredients, vodka is wheat, rye, typically, but potato, yes, barley, why not? Rice, certainly we do have vodka, rice vodka in Korea, but in Scotch whiskey, it should be barley or wheat. And distillation, in case vodka is triple or more, and whiskey is just double. Irish whiskey is typically distilled 3 times, and Scotch people call it Irish whiskey, never Scotch. They have this kind of pride because when you distill like 3 times or more, you hardly sense the base material. I mean, when you use makgeolli, if you distill just 1 time, you can tell that it's from makgeolli, it's from rice, and it's the same for any other ingredient. When it's distilled double, it becomes more pure alcohol. So it becomes pure, so it's more difficult to sense the base material. When it is distilled triple or more, even an expert can hardly tell which one is the base material. So in case of Scotch whiskey, they take pride in, yeah, we are making this with barley and a bit of wheat maybe. But in case of vodka, well, doesn't mind what the base material is. So yeah, they are proud of being purer than Scotch whiskey. So they mature in stainless tank. So vodka, though they have this kind of all kind of flavors, like cagey with strawberry, banana, whatever. But the vodka itself is white alcohol. So it's matured in stainless tank, not to absorb anything from anywhere. And meanwhile, whiskey is matured in oak cask or oak barrel to absorb all these substance from the oak. And they even use the second-hand one. You probably have seen, a certain whiskey, and they say it's special edition from sherry cask or something. Yeah, they also use wine cask very often. And vodka is some, very high-end vodka is matured for years, but vodka is basically don't care about maturation. And meanwhile, yes, whiskey, Scotch whiskey is at least 5 years, and so 12 plus years typically. Yeah, there are something like 30 years, 50 years versions. Yeah, distilled alcohol is transparent, regardless of base material. So when you want to use this kind of, alcohol as pure as it is, you are consuming white spirit, or you want to enjoy this kind of, flavors from other materials, and the taste of aging, the smooth structure, you are consuming brown spirit. Yeah. On the left, you're seeing many earthen jars. That's 20-liter container developed by a distiller in Korea. This distiller is and has been a pot maker for 20 years. So he developed this maturing container with this earthen jar, Korean traditional way, to mature this white spirit of soju. Yeah, as any other spirit, when it's distilled, soju is white spirit, and there are some kind of brown spirits in Korea. The white spirit is matured in this kind of earthen jar. This is a kind of special, newly developed one, in the sense that in Korea, what you call angel share, the natural evaporation rate is quite high. And in case of Scotch whiskey, where the weather is, not too hot and pretty, pretty moisturous around the year, the average rate of evaporation is like 2%. That's, when you do the commercial distillery, 2% is not a small amount. But in Korea, when some seasons are very dry and then summer is very hot, it can be as high as 10%. I heard it in India, it's like 15% every year. So this, traditional earthen jar has this kind of problem. Oh, very high evaporation rate. But this distiller makes this pores very small, and it's like 1% evaporation every year. So angels get 1% every year as their share. So we do not have wooden cask or the wooden barrel aging tradition. But Korean people use herbs, fruits, flowers, or any other materials for this aroma and color. So, yeah, history of Hanju spirit. So, spirit means distillation, and distillation technique is said to be developed by Arabic people. Well, it's controversial. I mean, there are archaeological evidences that there are distillers, like a couple of 1,000 years BC even. But in that area, this distiller was probably used for making perfume or medicine. The alcohol can resolve many aroma or chemical substances than water, so it is used for perfume. And at that time, the level of technology was not quite enough to make this kind of high volume pure alcohol. So we suppose it was used for perfume making. But then again, I'm pretty sure some of the perfume makers drank their alcohol. So in that sense, it was used for drinking alcohol. Anyway, distillation is interested in Korea in 13th century by this Mongolian Empire. So in Korea, Pyongyang, present in North Korean capital, and Jeju Island and city of Andong are traditionally known for soju or spirits, because these three places where these Mongolian armies were. So they first introduced these techniques, and they used these techniques in that area heavily, and those people and got tradition of good distillation. Yeah. Soju is actually the subcategory of spirit. Soju is just one of the kinds of many spirits, but used as analogy like Xerox or something. Okay, so now we are